So we all want that dream practice. So what is a dream practice? It's going to be different for everybody. Some people want a high income practice. And that's what, I know this from releasing a podcast. If I release a podcast that says make more money, more people will listen to that than if I release a podcast on up your leadership skills. So a lot of people were interested in that, but I think it's because of what it gets us, right? And some people want to take more time off. Some people want to focus on just doing surgery. I got a number of clients that are just doing like all on X surgery and they love it. Some people want to do fee for service. That's cool too. Group practice, that's what I'm in. I like it. I really enjoy that. Some people want to do the DSO sale. Some people want to make a DSO, and some people want to completely exit. And when I sold my practice and partnered up with a DSO, my plan was to exit. I wanted to do something different with my life. But I can tell you that now being where I'm at is I decided and I realized how much I actually do love being at the practice. And over that course of 3.5 years, I've changed things at the practice and I've got it to work better in my life. And that's what I want to talk about today, how to do that. Now, all these things, what is the constant? What is like these things? I mean, the dream practice is different for everybody, but the constant is freedom. We want that freedom. We want to practice without limitations. We want to be able to work when we want, do what we want, make a lot of money, take time off, and live really special lives and that's what's so great about dentistry. We see the doom and gloom on the internet, and it's just not like that for people like you and I. We know that there's a different way of doing things and we're willing to put in the work and we will reap the results from it. So I want to address, would I still have sold? Somebody asked me that just 2 days ago. People ask me that all the time. If I knew what I knew now, would I have sold my practice and partnered with a DSO? I have thought about this long and hard, and what I have come up with is yes, I still would have sold. It was the right thing for that period in my life. I wanted to do something different. I wasn't really sure what that was going to be, but I wanted the freedom to do something different. And, I wish looking back that I would have chased a different target, though. I was always chasing that, getting to that number. I wanted to get to that number of that retirement number and be like, okay, now I can just chill out and do nothing because that's what we all want to do, nothing, right? And I realized that that wasn't really what I wanted to do. I didn't really want that freedom. I should have been chasing the fulfillment. I should have been saying, how can I make this work in my life? And there was a period when right around my practice sale that I was kind of convinced that, you know what, maybe I'm just not the right personality for this. Maybe I'm just too high strung. Maybe I'm too stressed out to like own a practice of this size. It's just wearing me out. I don't find joy in it. And I didn't get the fulfillment out of it. And then after I sold over the course of 3.5 years following, I found that fulfillment. And it taught me a lot about life and a lot about what I wish I would have done if I knew what I knew now. But, we've heard that story a million times. So if I could do it over, I would have created a stronger leadership structure sooner. I had a leadership structure. They were great. They were doing a lot, but they didn't insulate me from the day-to-day of the practice. I was still listening to people complain about things. I was still listening to team members that weren't getting along. I was still listening to Sally's not turning her chairs and this person's not doing sterile as much as us. I was still involved in that, and I was still getting texts when I wasn't there about stuff that was happening at the practice, and it wore me out. So I wish I would have had a stronger leadership structure sooner that could have insulated me against those things. Because what I have now, where I barely have to deal with, I don't deal with any of that stuff. I think the last thing I dealt with in the practice was I had to say yes to a server. We're getting a new server, and I had to just sign off on it. My office manager got 2 bids. She negotiated to get 2 extra years of warranty. We're closed next Friday for an all-day meeting. She's getting it installed that day. So she just wrote me an email. Is this okay? Can you sign off on this? And I said, absolutely, go for it. That was the last decision I had to make. But there are things going on at my practice right now. I know it, but my team doesn't tell me about it because they have it under control. And that's what I really, really want for you. So the other thing I would have changed, I would have backed out clinically sooner. And I find that a lot of my personal overwhelm that I've had at my practice has been when I have goals. I want to do things with the practice. I'm excited to work on systems. I'm excited to train people on things. And I just couldn't get to them because I had to see patients. And I think that's a struggle because we often start off as that solo provider where we want everybody to love us. We'll do anything for any patient. And then we bring on an associate and then we start to back ourselves out, but our patients are still like holding on to us. Like, no, don't leave me. And we feel bad because we care for our patients. So what was happening to me is on my admin days, I was getting sucked back into clinical. I kept getting sucked back in. And I wish I would have got myself out more and put up more clear boundaries and said, hey, I eventually did this, but said, hey, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm at the practice, but I'm not at the practice. I'm not available to see patients. So that came later. And I wish I would have been more intentional about how the practice integrates with my life, just seeking more fulfillment and making it work. So there's 4 elements to a dream practice as far as I'm concerned. And we say, okay, so the 4 things, we're going to go through all of them individually. The first one, income. How much is the right amount of income for a dream practice? I'd say enough. It's different for everybody, but I think, I know a number of dentists making 7 figures a year. It's so doable. And I'm going to talk about what kind of practice gets you to that level as an owner. Time off, how much? Enough. How much do you want to take off? I think 3 days clinical or less for an owner doctor. I think that's plenty. And as you get to 3 days, I've seen it time and time again. People want to get to 2 days because 2 is better than 3. But at least having 12 weeks off, having 1 week off every month. I never work more than 3 weeks in a row, and I love it like that. And a lot of times when I was off, when I had that off week, I might still come to the practice for a day or two, but I don't have to. I'm coming because I want to, and I want to work on things. The freedom. Just the freedom to practice the way we want, practicing without limitations. That's what we need to do. And it's the way we set up our practice will allow that. And the last thing is just low stress. We want to get above that noise that I mentioned that just wore me out for so long. So the dream practice, it's whatever you want it to be, but it's the one that allows you to make enough, take enough time off, practice the way you want, and allow you to stay above the noise. That's about it. So let's go through each of those. What do we need? How do we have a $1 million income? Some people can do this as a solo provider. I have one coaching client that's right on the cusp of it. And you can do this as a solo provider making 7 figures, but for most dentists, it's going to be about a $2.4 to $2.7 million practice. So that's going to be one full-time associate and you working in a limited time as the practice owner. So that's typically what I see. I know it's going to depend on, how high producers we are. Some people are going to do different, but if you have one full-time associate, most of the time, if you can get them busy enough and you can get to that 2.4, 2.7 range, you can make $1 million a year as a practice owner. Time off. How do we work 3 days a week and how do we take 12 weeks off a year? Well, it's pretty easy. We just have one associate. That's all we got to do. Just got to have an associate so that you can leave the practice and it still runs. That's pretty simple. What about the freedom? Okay, we want freedom from chaos. And what the chaos is the kind of things that, our team is coming to us and looking to us for answers for every single problem, every single issue. And this wears us out as owners because we're in this chair doing this, and we're in this chair doing this with another patient, and we're wearing a lot of hats. So this is where the hard work comes in. This is where the freedom from the chaos comes from the systems creation. And with a lot of chaos that we have at practices is due to turnover as well. We're bringing people on. We have untrained employees. So another way around that is having onboarding standards. We're going to work on that. That's part of the OmniPractice system. And then we want to have the personnel available to train the people. I see a lot of practices that have the perfect amount of people. There's nobody extra. So when somebody calls in, you're down. You don't want it. You want to have at least one person extra. And if you think about it, if you're at the right number, when you lose somebody, sometimes it gets hard to train the other people. I have one coaching client now that has one front desk member and really trying to expand and get another front desk person there, but he's so busy that this one front desk person can't train a new person. So you get kind of in a bind right there. And this is why getting from that plateau, right about like when one full-time provider, you as the dentist is about, maxed out. The hardest jump is adding the associate. Once you get the first associate, the second associate's so much easier. I'd say it's probably like maybe 1/5 as hard as getting that first associate. So that's the big jump. Once you get in there, you're off to the races. Low turnover. We're going to be talking about growing our practices in a manner that's going to be fast growth, that you guys probably aren't going to post on Facebook about it because the trolls are going to come at you. If we're going to grow our practice, we need to have low turnover because we're going to be bringing people on our team for growth. If we have to also bring people on our team because we're losing people, that is going to be an issue. So we have to have low turnover. That comes from proper management. That comes from systems of management and just having a normal meeting cadence, things like that. We'll talk about it. And then the other thing about having associates, one of the most scariest things as an owner with associates is that your associate will leave. You get a good one and they want to leave. So, it depends what area you're in. If you're in a really metro, like a big area, and you can get associates in and out, you might not care so much about this because there's a million applicants. If you're a little bit further away from the city, like I'm about 40 miles south of Chicago, it's a little tough for me. So when I find somebody, I want to keep them. And this is what I believe so much in is the junior partnerships, selling a small chunk of equity to an associate to have them stay on, have them have some ownership, have them be a stakeholder in the business, but they don't really have to do anything if you don't want them to. If you want them to, do more leadership duties, like do management, that's cool too. I don't like that. I would rather have somebody that's just, you continue to be an associate. I can go to bed at night knowing that every time that you come into my office at the practice, I know that you're not putting in like your 3 months notice, that you're just coming to talk to me about something else. So the junior partnerships is an awesome thing that too. All right, low stress, getting above the noise. That's that leadership team. Now let me ask you a question here. Would you, okay, let me let somebody in a room here. Okay, cool. So would you pay somebody $75,000 based on the size of your office, $75,000 to $200,000 that you never have to deal with any more BS? You don't have to deal with vacation requests. You don't have to deal with like the payroll, anything like that. Any two people on your team not getting along, or like just all the BS that comes with ownership that we just hate dealing with. If you could pay somebody $75,000, a highly paid employee, or maybe two people, a little extra payroll to get you so you never have to deal with that stuff again, would you do it? And everybody, they always say yes. So why don't we? We don't, because we're scared to do it. We're scared about our payroll, and we're also scared that we're going to be able to keep the same level of collections because sometimes we have a big month, sometimes we have a small month. I want to have consistent months so we know exactly what we're doing. So a leadership team at your office, bringing people in, giving them responsibilities and getting them on your side and behind you, it can make all the difference in the world. I mean, they can run every aspect of the practice. They can meet with everybody on the team, one-on-ones, make sure everybody's happy. When you bring new people on the team, they can onboard them as your team is growing. And, it just makes the biggest difference in the world. And this was the part that made me happy, that made me want to stay at the practice, excuse me, is that when I got above that noise, when that leadership team insulated me from all of the BS I hated with the practice, I loved the practice because I go in there. We're talking about, we dropped Delta last year. Now we're talking about dropping Blue Cross very soon. We're probably going to drop MetLife real soon. So we're talking about what are we going to do for this? Okay, we're going to have to really focus on our phone skills and how we get out of network patients into our office. Like that's the stuff I want to be part of. I don't want to be part of like, someone didn't get their bonus because they showed up to the meeting 20 minutes late, but they want it anyway. That's not my problem. I don't want to do that. Someone's talked to me about a raise. I don't do that either. You go to my lead, you talk to your lead about it. So it can be such a great thing for you if you get this into your practice. And you've got to have a business and meeting cadence. You've got to have that meeting cadence. Though you're meeting once a week, you're meeting with your leads, you're meeting one-on-ones with people. You got to have that regular. And by business, I mean, you've got to have just checking certain numbers, checking the insurance aging. You've got to check these things on a regular basis. That's just part of running a business, which is hard for a lot of people to do because we're doing so much damn dentistry. So let's do this. Let's talk about this. First things first, how do we do this for the practice? We need 35 plus new patients per doctor. Now, I know you're going to be like, well, I don't need that. Totally cool. I'm just telling you, in my experience, being through 7 associates, they need 35 plus new patients in my area. Maybe it's different for you. People need more dentistry. In my area, they need 35 at a bare minimum. We want 45 to 50. That's what we're really shooting for. That's what's going to keep the average associate busy at $700 an hour and have them generate good income. So that's what we're looking for. Now, I know you're going to say, I don't need that. Maybe you get better case acceptance. Maybe you're better at diagnosing more. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about owner doc. I'm talking about the associates you're going to hire. They are not going to diagnose as well as you. They are not going to get the good case acceptance as you. You want them to, but chances are they're not. So we're going to get them 35 plus new patients per month. So what do? We block. We block out for new patients. So I'm going to give you an example of a 4-day week, and I'm going to explain this to you. And I want you to understand how blocking out, how creating a block schedule it creates everything in the practice, and it is the foundation of growing your practice. So here we go. So I want you to block. Now, you don't worry about writing these down because I'll talk a little bit more, and this will be in all the notes and stuff too. But I want you to understand this concept. We have a 4-day week for a hygienist, right? We want to see 6 new patients per week per hygienist. All right, just follow me here. So if we have 2 RDHs, we got 2 hygienists, we're going to see 48 new patients a month. That's what we're shooting for. Will we shoot it? I hope we see more. A lot of times, if we can have all these blocks set up and we fill them, chances are we're also going to see more new patients through emergency exams, through limited LOEs. So let's do this example. The hygienist, they got a 7-hour day. So 4 7-hour days a week. I'm saying they have an 8-hour day, but they have a 1-hour lunch. So they can see patients for 7 hours a day, 4 days a week. That's 1,680 minutes. If we have 6 new patients a week, that's going to take up that amount of time, 540 minutes. We're also going to have 2 SRPs a week. The way I come up with this is I find that 1 out of 6 of my new patients needs SRPs. So they're going to need 2 quads. So there's going to be 2 SRP appointments per every 6 of new patient appointments. You know, it's going to be different if you've got different perio percentage, but it's a nice starting point. And then the rest of the hygienist time is going to be for recall. They're going to be able to see 16 recalls per week. And that is the whole thing. 6 new patients, 2 SRPs, 16 recalls. Now think about this. We're going to say we're a brand new practice. We're a startup. We have no existing patients. We're seeing is new patients. In our first recall cycle, we're seeing 6 recalls a week. That's 6 months later. We're seeing 6 recalls a week. At our second recall cycle, at 12 months, we're now seeing 12 recalls a week because we saw the first 6 and then the next 6 new patients. All right. Now, when we get to 16 or 18 months out, look what happens. We are now seeing 18 recalls a week because we're holding the space for it. But remember what I said. I mean, this is capacity. Our hygienist can only see 16 recalls a week. So we are at capacity in just 3 recall cycles. And this is so possible. So you just have to get to that level of new patients and hold the space for it. And then before you get to that 24-month mark, when they start coming back again for that 4th time, I mean, you're at 24 recalls a week, which you are in excess of 8 recalls. And if you've got 2 hygienists that have an excess of 8 recalls, that's 16. That's a full hygienist. So I hope that made sense. There's a lot of numbers. What I'm trying to say is that if you focus and you sit there and you block it out and you reserve that time and you make sure you reappoint everybody, you can get to capacity within 3 recall cycles. Okay. But what do most dentists do? We have no blocks. We just let it happen. We just let the patients book wherever they can. And the problem with this is that recall then takes priority. Recall is given priority over new patients. And you're saying, well, we don't really give, priority to recall. But think about this. A new patient will typically call and we can get them in within 2 to 3 weeks. When does that recall appointment get scheduled? 6 months in advance. So if we let recall schedule first, our new patients are just going to fit in wherever there's space. And sometimes there's no space left. I had this happen in my practice. This is how we discovered how to block out for new patients. So you reach capacity with just recall. And every single day, your hygienist is seeing 7 recall patients. And you're like, man, we're just really not seeing a lot of new patients. And your hygienists are like, hey, we're really busy. I like it. And you're like, well, I don't have anything to do because we're not seeing any new patients. So it's a low production office. It's not very busy for the doctor. The new patient flow is really dampened by the recall because there's nowhere to put anybody. And you're saying, I don't know if I can keep another hygienist busy. And I run into this with coaching clients. I say, hey, we need to get another hygienist in here. Oh, I don't know if I can keep them busy. My new patient numbers aren't really that. And then we look, we say, when is the next new patient slot? And they can't get them in for like a month because there's nowhere to put them. There's no intentionality in the schedule. So what we want to do is we want to give priority to new patients. And when we give priority to the new patients and the SRPs in the hygiene schedule by holding that time and not allowing that recall to get in there 6 months ahead, we are creating capacity in our practice. We are creating capacity in our hygiene columns, and we're giving our practice what it needs to go to the next level, which is get the capacity. And the first big one is going to be adding your first associate. So how many blocks if you're going to do this, because this is something I want you to do. I don't want to go into too much detail of it because it's in the block scheduling masterclass. It's also in the Omni practice. It's in phase 1, 2, and 3, I believe. It's spread out, in different sections to take it one by one. The first phase is adding new patients and SRPs, but 6 new patients a week for every hygienist. So on Monday, they see 1 patient. On Tuesday, they see 2. On Wednesday, they see 1. On Thursday, they see 2. Any way you want to do it. And you want to arrange these at certain times in your day so that they work for you. You want to see 2 SRPs a week. Just start with this. Now, a lot of people that get hung up on this step, I don't know how to make my block schedule. Literally just start. Just get it on there, because the thing is with hygiene, you're not going to get to that until 6 months from now. So if you wait another 5 months, another 6 months, you're not going to be getting to it till a year. So you've got to do it today. You got to get out in front of it and try it out. Once you get there, you can pivot, you can change, you can decide if you need more SRPs, if you need more new patient blocks, things like that. And then the rest of the hygiene schedule is just going to be recall. And if you can fill these blocks, hypothetically, and reappoint everybody, we're going to hit capacity in 3 or less recalls. And that's a really short time to get your practice to the level that it needs an associate. And most of us aren't starting from 0, which is even better because we've already got a lot of recall patients. You might go into your schedule and start putting these new patient slots in and go, oh my gosh, I'm already at capacity. And I see that all the time. So how do we get more new patients? 3 hurdles we've got to get through. So the first one, that the prospective new patient finds the practice. They go into Google and they search your town dentist. We need our practice to be seen. If we're not seen, they're not going to find us. Okay. So we need to be seen. That's got to be search engine optimization. That's got to be pay per click. Any kind of marketing you're doing, you need to get in front of your patients and they need to see you. So the next step is when they do see us, they've got to be intrigued to click. So if they're going to click on us, we hopefully having more reviews than everybody that's on that map pack with us. So if we get at the top and we're all good there, and now they see that we have more reviews, they're going to click on us. And then hopefully they're going to go to our website and they're just going to look really nice. I see a lot of people miss tons of opportunity on this. You've got to have a nice website and you've got to feature your practice in a way that makes the patient want to call you. So you may have to do some updating. I don't care who your web designer is. If you send them like pictures of a 25-year-old office, it's not going to look new and contemporary. Some people say that doesn't matter. I assure you it does when we're trying to get patients from the internet. Like 70% of my new patients come from Google and come from pay-per-click. That's all the marketing we're doing. We're not doing mailers. We're not doing anything. I mean, we sponsor a softball team or something. Like we don't do a whole lot of marketing other than just pay-per-click and SEO. That's what we're throwing our money at. So you want to feature your practice in a nice way. So hire a photographer, have them come in, take nice pictures, make a video. I had one client, he had a nice practice. It wasn't featured the best on his website, but he went and made a video, had a photographer come out, new headshots, all this stuff, and his new patients almost doubled. And he told me, he said, it's crazy because it's a completely different type of new patient. I feel like I'm in a different area, like different types of people are finding me, and it's good. All right, so the last thing is that they want to call you because you give them a reason to, because they look at your website, they look at your reviews, it's good. And then it's the easy part, just answering the phone. You got to pick it up. Sometimes we don't even answer our phone. Sometimes we're about 50% our answer rate. We want to be 75% plus, and I want it nearly at 100 for the hours that we're open. So you can get these usually from your VoIP provider if you're using internet phone or any way you can get it, but just answer the damn phone. I mean, that's the easiest thing ever. And then just doing the minimal amount of phone skills training. This is in your portal. There's a great training. It's about 2 hours long for your team to watch. And then there's another, maybe like, I think there's 3 hours of just phone calls and critiques of phone calls. That is the best part, is for them to hear real people on the phone just completely flub it, because it would blow your mind. And I know this because I've seen it time and time again. If you listen to your phone calls and you haven't, you're going to be surprised. Everybody is, but don't feel bad because we all are. And I'm sure if I called my phone, if I picked up this on this call and I called my practice, we might get a bad phone call. It happens. So things happen, but that's what happens when we're not focusing on it. We want to control what we can. So you've got these blocks, right? What if your blocks are booking up, you're filling them with new patients, and you're going out 4+ weeks? Well, that is an indication that you've got excess demand. You don't have enough supply. So you need to bump that up to maybe two new patients per day per RDH. So, we've got that and then what that's going to do is it's instead of it being 3 recall cycles, it's going to be less because you're filling it faster. So if you're booking really far out, you need to up your demand or you need to up your supply. And this is what we saw 6 months after COVID. We didn't have any recalls because we were closed in March and May or March and April. And so come October, we went from 160 new patients to like 230 because our whole entire schedule was open. What kind of indicator was that? That was like, hey, we got to expand to get more hygienists in here, and then we can add more providers. Now, what if you can't fill them? What if you've got all these blocks and you're like, I just can't get them full? Does that mean that we've got excess supply and not enough demand? No, it really doesn't. It means you don't have enough demand. Don't say I've got too much supply and start peeling these things off your schedule. Now, honestly, if you can't fill them, allow a recall or anyone who calls to get there, but don't stop there and say, well, I couldn't do it. Go back and look at the 3 things. Look at the 3 stages and just do it. Have somebody Google your practice. Google your own practice from different areas because it matters where you're Googling it from, and just look at it. Would I click on my practice if I was a prospective new patient? And when I do, is there something on that website that makes me want to pick up the phone and call them? And then, the phone skills thing, I mean, that's an easy training to do. Most of us are in a lot of networks. If you're in a network, I mean, you have to be pretty bad on the phone to not get the patient in. But if you listen to those phone calls I have in the training, you will be very surprised at how bad they are. All right. So we want to grow our active patients. We want to get to capacity. So how do we get to capacity? We increase new patients as much as we can, and we retain the new patients. So reappoint is something we have to follow. We have to follow and track this metric. We got to make sure that everyone leaves our practice with another appointment. And you stress this to your team by saying, hey, if they don't make an appointment, a lot of times patients, they fall off and then they feel embarrassed to call you back. Oh my God, I haven't been in there in like 2 years. I don't even want to call them. And they call somebody else. It happens all the time. Or they're not getting the help that they deserve because they're not staying on the system. So everybody leaves with a new appointment. Anything over 85% we're happy with. And just as fast as we can, we're going to get to capacity and then we're going to expand it. We're talking about expanding. So you're going to need to grow your team. So prioritize retaining your good existing team members. I know you've all got them. Sometimes we feel like we can't find good people. I really think it's more of us that we're not pouring into our team. So retain your good people because you're going to need to bring people onto your team to expand. So culture, you need to articulate this. This is the foundational stuff that's not very fun, but we have to do it. This is the mission. This is the vision. This is the core values. This is the brand promises. This is at the beginning of the Omni Practice program. My examples from my office are there as well. I'm guessing everybody on this call has a mission and vision statement, but I'm guessing everyone on this call also doesn't know what theirs is, and they never articulate it to the team. That's the difference. I want you to have a team meeting and say, hey, I want to talk to everybody about who we are and what I envision for this practice. That's the difference. That's what causes inspiration. That's what gets people to get behind you as a leader. And regular meetings. We got to give the patients an outlet, or we got to give the team an outlet to discuss frustrations and get better at things. If you want to know what you need to work on in your practice right now, I mean, just ask your team. Have regular meetings. You're going to find out really fast what you should be doing. And then psychological safety. This is all part of the program. This is all in the management module and the culture module. And all that essentially means is that if anyone brings something to you, if anyone lets you know that something went bad, or they're saying, I need more training, they're saying like, oh, this happened, they're coming to you and they're sharing something with you, or something bad happens at the practice and you have to get to the bottom of it to find out what happened. If you make those people feel horrible about it, they're going to hide it from you in the future. And you don't want that because your best growth is going to come from your mistakes. And every complaint, I know we get complaints from patients all the time and they are just bonkers crazy. Every single complaint, even the bonker crazy people, it is a gift because it allows us to see what our patients might be thinking. And maybe like we had other patients that thought the same thing as that crazy patient, but they just didn't want to, or they didn't want to tell us about it because they're just not, as crazy as those people. They're just not, they don't fly off the handle like these people do. But every complaint is a gift. And if you don't have psychological safety at your practice, if you don't make it okay to make mistakes, people hide the mistakes and you can't grow from it. One-on-ones, sitting down with your team and doing one-on-ones with every single team member. As you develop a leadership team, your one-on-ones will be with your leads only, and occasionally with an employee here or there. But for the most part, it's going to be with your leads only. That's how it is at my practice. My leads are doing one-on-ones with their departments. They're doing them once every quarter. And making it easy for you to replace or onboard new people. And this is also part of the beginning of the Omni Practice program. This is the stuff that's not fun. I get it. This is creating the 30-day, the 60-day, the 90-day. What do we want each employee to know and learn when they come onto us? What kind of branding and what are we telling them about our brand and who we are? This is the stuff that makes the difference and makes this scalable. Remember, we're trying to create a scalable practice that can grow. We've got to get these foundational elements in place. We've got to have designated trainers. We tried to do it at my practice. We said, okay, front desk here, you sit with this person this day and whoever's available, just help them. No, we had to say, you know what? You are training this person today. Nobody else, they're shadowing you because some of your people on your team, they don't want to be trainers. And some people love it. And find the people that love to do it and have them be the trainers. Follow the guidelines that you created with your 30, 60, 90s and just check in with them. That's all you got to do. And then we want the systems. We're going to create them. We're going to enforce them. Just the normal stuff that we would do as business owners. We're creating systems. That's what we're doing in the Omni Practice program. So when do we add employees? People always ask us, they say, should I add another front desk? When am I ready for another hygienist? I don't really know what to do. I don't want you to overthink this, but we always do. We always overthink it. I want you to just think about this. If you can solve your new patient issue and you can get to like 35 plus new patients, you know where you're going. If you can get to that new patient number, you solve those 3 steps, you know that at a certain point, you're going to get to capacity and you can expand. And because you're going to see it on the schedule. So you will feel comfortable now adding another front desk person because you're going to be looking at that saying, okay, well, I'm going to add another Calma Hygiene. I need another front desk person. Okay, well, if I bring on another associate, what's the production going to look like there? Well, I have a pretty good idea because I'm seeing enough new patients. It becomes more of a mystery when we're like, okay, 1 month we see 15 and 1 month we see 12 and 1 month we see 20. That's not going to support that growth. We have a certain amount of our patients that are just moving away and unfortunately pass away. So we've got to not think so much about when is the right time, is just be comfortable growing into our team, knowing that we're going to get to a certain level of production. So, and multiply yourself. Slowly move people into the management roles. Most offices have an office manager. That's what OM is. Most offices have that, but they don't really give them a lot of duties. They're more like the best front desk person. So have them step out of the front desk and start handling some of these things, like maybe building some of these systems with you as you progress through the program. Eventually, you'll reach a size where you'll have a lead hygienist and you'll have a dental assistant lead. And then the last one to come is usually that front desk lead. And that's because you need somebody to lead the front desk because your office manager is now removed and is doing more management stuff rather than working at the front desk. So this is the stuff that makes it scale. This is the stuff that makes your life so much easier. This is the stuff you want to be focusing on. And some people, like EOS people, they call this the integrator, so whatever you want to call it, you have one integrator. You can have that too. If you don't want to have like a lead RDH, you can have an integrator. I have my dental assistant lead. She's also my clinical manager because she also manages the hygienist too. The hygiene lead does, but she manages everything on the back end, nothing in the front. So, and the last foundational focus is that we're constantly improving in everything. And we're doing this by having meetings and talking to our team and making it safe for mistakes to happen. Because every time we make a mistake, it'll give us something that we can work on and make it better. So this is my golden rule. This is my second book. Everything we're going to do, it's going to do one of these 6 things. It's either going to increase new patients, right? We're increasing new patients by doing those 3 hurdles that I talked about earlier. We're also going to increase our dollars spent per patient. That could be doing anything that'll help with case acceptance. That could be patient experience stuff, helping with case acceptance. That could be us taking classes and expanding our clinical prowess that we can do more procedures. We're going to increase our scheduling in clinical efficiencies. So we're going to schedule better. That's going to be so foundational to everything that you're going to learn from me. But we're also going to learn how to do procedures faster and more effectively by working with our team and taking some of the bottlenecks out of our treatment. And then we're going to increase our collections. And that is the easiest system to fix, is to get our collections where it needs to be, 98, 99%. Okay. We're also going to decrease our insurance write-offs. I don't think insurance is bad. I'm still a PPO practice. The only thing we have dropped at my practice is Principal and Delta. Principal was like that big at my practice. Delta, that was a big deal. And so we're going out of network, but the reason we're doing that is because we've already grown and we are at capacity. We can't see any more people. I can't add any more hygienists. I can't add any more providers. I don't want to. It's a lot. As your team gets bigger, it gets more complex. But we're going off insurance to help tamper our capacity a little bit, because we have no more capacity unless I build onto my building, which I'm not doing it. And the last thing is we want to decrease our attrition, keep people in our system, keep people patients of our practice. So I really, really believe that you can have it all. It is possible. You just have to follow the steps. It's block scheduling. Eventually, I want you to get to a point where your whole schedule is blocked out. But right now, just new patients and SRPs. And making sure that you can fill your blocks through the new patient acquisition systems. And once we get the whole schedule blocked out, our only goal is just fill the blocks. That's all we got to do. Everything else, it's set up. So systematizing everything, making sure that you're creating the systems, that you're growing, you're retaining your employees because they want to stay at your practice because it runs smooth, and that they know that they're at a good place. When somebody leaves a practice, here's what happens. Something makes them mad and something frustrates them. And then they get really pissed about it and they don't tell anybody, and it never gets addressed. And then it frustrates them again. And then it happens like 6 or 7 more times until they're just like, F this, I'm out of here. The thing is that if you're setting up systems and ways of doing things, and you're communicating with your team and giving them an outlet to talk about mistakes, you are now going to address that issue well before that 6th or 7th time you did that happened and pissed them off. So you're going to be becoming better, but your team is going to feel good about being at your practice because they know it's going somewhere. It has life. It's not just plateauing and maintaining. Management and meetings, that's kind of the same thing I'm talking about. When you have the management and you have the meetings, employees are happy. So we're growing and retaining our employees. And the constant improvement stuff, what we want is just always getting better. Reach your capacity point as fast as you can, and then you're going to step back. So our action items for this month are going to be, I want you to block out the new patients and SRPs for 6 to 12 months from now. Now, why 6 to 12 months? Because you probably got a bunch of stuff already on your schedule for the next 6 months. So go out to some open space and start creating this template and do it. Really easy to do in Open Dental. Eaglesoft, okay. Dentrix, kind of okay as well. If anyone wants to switch to Open Dental, I have a number of clients that did it. It wasn't as painful as you think, but you can do it within your system. You can watch a YouTube on how to do it on Eaglesoft or Dentrix. I have on Open Dental. What I like about Open Dental is it's a lot of cut and copy paste, and you can have different weeks, different templates for each week. I think with Eaglesoft and Dentrix, you get to pick one template and it's the same template every week. But that will work. It can work. I want you to have a regular meeting cadence. I want you to make sure that you're meeting with your team once a month. Okay, that is the bare minimum. If you have to meet more and you have more to talk about, cool. How do you know? Well, if you're getting to the end of your meeting and you still feel like there's a lot of unresolved stuff, maybe you need to meet more often. Depends what you're changing. I have found in my practice career, we've always met once a month. When we were smaller, we met a little bit here and there because it was easier to talk with like me and just like 7 other people at the end of the night. But as we got bigger, once a month has always been sufficient for us. We block 2 hours out in the middle of our day, and it usually takes about an hour and a half. So, 15 minutes of getting everybody settled down, and then we don't, with 15 minutes before the next patient comes. So, all right. Getting your mission, vision, core values, and your brand promises documents going. Talking about them with your team, getting their input, and making sure everyone on your team understands what you stand for. And then I want you to do the one-on-ones with everyone on your team. And if you've never done this before, it's going to be kind of uncomfortable, but you're going to get past it because we're growing and you're becoming a better leader. You can do it. There's a video in the OmniPractice portal. It has one-on-ones. There's also a sheet, a little handy sheet that should help you. These are not hard to do. And you know what? If somebody thinks you're weird because you brought them in the office and you talk to them about like how's their job going, let them think you're weird. Who cares? You know, when you do it next month, they're not even going to care. It's going to become normal. So get out of your comfort zone, do these one-on-ones. And I want you to just bring that inspiration to your team. You know, talk about the mission, where we're taking this practice. I don't know how many of you will have your team watching these videos. I don't know how many of your team will be involved talking with my leads, but let them know, hey, I joined this program. I like these ideas. If you don't have to do everything that we're doing at my practice, but it's there in the program if you want it. You know, let them know. I want to make this place a better place. And all you need to focus on is let's make it the best place possible for our patients and for everybody that works here. Do we care about profit? No. Are we going to make more profit? Hell's yeah. We're going to make a ton more profit, but we don't need to focus on that. We only need to focus on making a great place for patients and a great place for our team. So that is the conclusion of this part of this webinar. That is the action items. I'll just leave those up here just in case anyone wants to write them down. But, you know, I am here for, you know, another, let's see, I can do this like another 20 minutes. I could take some Q&A if anybody has a question or wants to ask, just unmute and shoot.
Paul, are you doing 1 hour new patients?
Oh, yeah.
For your hygienist?
Good question, Chris. That was actually, I should have mentioned that on that one slide. I totally forgot about that. So new patients are 90 minutes, an hour and a half. SRPs for 2 quads are an hour and a half, and our recalls are 1 hour. We used to do it like 40 minutes for a recall and then like 50 minutes if it was x-rays. But the thing is when you create this block schedule template, it kind of has to fit together. So you need to make them like an hour and a half and an hour so they fit together. But I will tell you that brings up one thing that I do want to share with everybody is when you do this, if your team has a specific lunch every day, that sometimes makes it hard because after lunch is a 3-hour slot and you can't put 1 new patient and 2 recalls because it doesn't fit. I prefer to have a floating lunch, you know, so that lunch can be moved based on what this hygienist is seeing during the day. And that's how we do it at my practice. You'll see that in the module. But cool. Did that answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Paul, how's your...
Oh, I'm sorry. Who? Let's see. Was that Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
How's the Delta drop going? I'm about to bite the bullet. So
yeah, you know what, man? It seems so cliche because it's like we see it on the internet. Everybody that does it is like, I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, and that's how I literally feel. It was scary to go through. It was a challenge, but I'll tell you, we're exactly 1 year out. And like I did a podcast about it. We screwed some things up. You know, we didn't learn how to estimate out of network benefits. We also made the mistake that we were charging so much for our exams and prophy and all that stuff that the patients were like paying an out of pocket of like $350, like $400 on top of their insurance. So it was a learning experience, but it's going great. We're having people come back. And we ran a report. It was like 68% of our patients we were able to keep with Delta. And I'll tell you that the main reason we've lost Delta people is not because we're out of network and because of our fees. It's more because that they don't like the assignment of benefit thing. When we can't do assignment of benefit, it makes it very hard for us to keep them. So we found with Delta, a certain number of plans, probably about half of them allow us in Illinois to do assignment of benefit. And I'd ask my team which ones. They're like, it's almost all the out-of-state ones allow you to do assignment of benefit. You just have to call and ask. But to answer your question, Mike, dude, it was awesome. I mean, it's going great, and we're ready. We're gonna do Blue Cross and MetLife pretty soon too. So we're just and we know we can keep a lot of those patients because we can take assignment of benefit with those. So
good to hear. Thanks.
All right, who else? I think there was someone else that said something a little bit.
Hey, Paul, it's Kathy.
Hey, Kathy.
Hey, I just wanted to know if you have a rule of thumb for like the front admin team how big the practice gets for front admin team, how big the practice gets for like one doctor, two hygienists, two assistants, that type of thing.
Yeah, so it's always going to be the one doctor, two hygienists, two assistants, and two front desk. That is how it's going to be. Now, when you get to that point where you're the first person at capacity and you're ready to make that step to having the associate, you want to add a third person. You want at least a third person at the front desk. And this is what I was kind of saying in that slide is if you know you're growing, you know you can grow into it. So get more people at your front and remove your office manager and put them in more of a true office manager role and let them do some management. But it's hard with the front desk, and I get it, and I'm sure everyone on this call is understaffed at their front desk if they ask their front desk, and that's one of the things that we had it going on at my practice, and we really took a hard look at our collection policies and realized that hey, when you don't collect when the patient's in front of you, you take a 30-second transaction, you turn it into like a 20-minute ordeal per patient. So this is why you're busy. But I've, in my experience, no matter how many people I have at the front desk, they will always say it's not enough. But every time somebody in the clinical team walks up there, they're on their phones. So maybe that happens at your practice too. I think it's one of those things that's pretty normal at everyone's practice. But yeah, two per person. As you get to your second associate, you'll add another two or three. When you add your first associate, I'm sorry, when you add your first associate, you're going to add another two or three front desk people. Your third associate, you start getting to the point that your patient base gets so large that you need to be more front end heavy because of the phones, because the phones just ring more because there's so many more active patients. But as long as you follow that system and you get your new patients in line and you know where you're growing, you should be comfortable to look ahead and say, well, I'm going to add another associate. I'm going to add another two hygienists. Associate might do 800,000. Hygienist might do 150K each. I'm going to have an additional 1.1 million in revenue. What is my payroll going to look like and grow into it? And I think there's for someone, and it's different everywhere. Maybe a front desk person around me is about $23 an hour. And for someone to come sit at my office for 8 hours and make $180, if they get one new patient, if they get one person that was going to forget their appointment to show up, if they get one person that hadn't scheduled and they call them and they get them to schedule an appointment, it doesn't take a lot to get an ROI on a front desk employee. We just have to make sure that when they have downtime, they're doing these things. So stick with two, but don't be scared to grow into it and take more people. It's the last thing you want to do is turn over people because it's chaotic and everybody hates their job because they're so busy.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Paul, this is Chance. How's it going?
Hey, Chance, what's happening, man?
Um, my question is about our team members logging on, like our leads. Do they use our login or do we create a separate one?
Yeah, so they will use your login. The way I'm working with the Kajabi trying to find like a way for them because they can do like some open source coding where we're trying to make it so that they can make a login for everybody. I can, for the people that are doing coaching clients, I'm creating more logins for them. But for people that's just part of this collective right now, I don't have the manpower to be updating that and staying on top of that. So give everybody your login.
Not a problem. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, last call, guys. Awesome. Well, hey, you guys all have my email. I'm so thankful for all you guys that signed up and were part of this thing. And next week we're going to do a Q&A with got Stephen Henry will be here too. So bring your questions, look at the material, work through it. I've tried to make it as easy as possible. But if you've got suggestions, let me know. It's this right now with the Omni Practice program. This is version 2. The first version was a month-to-month one. This is a phase 1. So I think I've made it easy. But again, it's for you guys. It's for people like you and to help you build your practices and get the lives that you want. So please do let me know what I can do to help. And I just want to say thanks to everybody. I really appreciate you guys getting here and being this. And I'm looking forward to talking with you guys next week. So